Welcome back to the All Ball Podcast, where it is all ball all the time. You are here with your hosts, Sean and Isaiah. This is episode number 65, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that have been going around the NBA, because these first 2 weeks have just been absolutely crazy. Everything that we've predicted has been wrong, for the most part. I know we're definitely going to talk about the Trailblazers. We'll probably get to our Rockets a little bit too, the Nets, the Hawks. We're probably going to be all over the place this episode. So, Isaiah, I'm going to start off with a different question today. And that question is, what is going on in the NBA?
Man, I don't even know how to describe it. I don't think there's a word in the English language that can describe what this haphazard mess of a season is to start off. We have the Lakers and the Nets both currently at the very bottom of their respective conferences. We expected them not to be great, but the very bottom is insane. And then on the other hand, you have teams like the Trailblazers, the Utah Jazz, the Knicks having all positive records. Makes no sense.
And it's weird because it felt like this season was very predictable than most other seasons. Like, it felt like each team finally decided to pick a direction to go. Like, you know, the Jazz finally decided to blow it up. The Pacers seemed like they were going to try to blow it up too. The Kings felt like they were going to try to be competitive. But it's been the complete opposite of everything we predict. The standings wise, you know, player predictions, everything like that has been completely off.
Exactly. And I think the craziest thing about it is, like, you're right in the sense that this felt like the most predictable season going into it. You could see it in how similar our standings were. And then the season happened. And keep in mind, no major injuries have happened. So this is without injuries. And everything is almost completely wrong. There are only a few teams that are actually doing what we expected them to do.
Yeah, so I feel like the only real prediction I've been right on this year is the Milwaukee being at number one. They're the only team in the NBA that's still undefeated. But one team I do want to talk about that I know we both wanted to talk about was the Miami Heat. So do you want to go ahead and start with them first?
Yeah, we can go ahead and start there.
All right, so the Miami Heat have started off this season through their first 7 games 2-5. They are currently sitting 12th in the East on a 2-game losing streak as of this day of recording. I want to go ahead and start off with you and ask, I know we looked at this team when talking about our standings and said they'll probably be one of those upper 4 to 5 teams that kind of just coast through the regular season. But we were also concerned about the talent on their roster outside of Butler, Bam, and Harrow. Because we knew Kyle Lowry was aging, and he's looked pretty bad this season.
Yeah.
What do you think they could do to fix this team, or what do you think needs to happen to turn the season around for them?
Really? I'm not 100% sure if there's any one thing. I know that they need an upgrade at the point guard spot. So maybe if they can look into that around the trade deadline or before, if possible. Because like you said, Kyle Lowry, he's getting up there. He's looked really bad to start the season. So I think maybe they need an upgrade there, because when you look at their bench guys, nobody is really a playmaker that you could expect to come into that role that Kyle Lowry is supposed to be filling and overtake him and be better at what they need their point guard to do. And so at that point, it's like they have to make some kind of external move if they want to get a good playmaker at that one spot.
And you know, I was exactly going to say playmaking is what they need, because looking at their totals right now, their leading assist obviously is Kyle Lowry, you know, who we would all hope it would be. But he's only averaging 5.3 assists per game, and right behind him is 5.1 at Jimmy Butler. And I mean, that's kind of predictable because he is the star player of that team. But
Hmm.
once you look at the rest of the team, it's all three and below. Even Harrow, who I'd kind of expect a little bit more. I know he's not really much of a playmaker, but more of a shot creator. I'd expect him to get a couple more assists per game.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about Hero is if he's going to grow into a real shot creator, he's going to need to be able to get more assists. Now, even if his average isn't that high, you can just see it in the way he plays. Assisting is not really something that he looks to do. But when you look at a lot of the upper level scorers in the league, the reason they're so dominant is because the threat of that pass is always there.
Hmm.
Most of the time they don't, which is why they're the top scorers. But when they do, it kills you almost every time. Because the one time that you are like, all right, I think I can get the stop here, they finally passed it. Because that willingness to pass is always there. And it's just about them finding the right openings. Whereas Tyler Hero, I think he needs to develop that if he wants to really take that next jump and be a bigger piece for this team.
Hmm. And they haven't. I wouldn't say they've shot the three ball terrible because they've had some good performances from some of their guys, but it doesn't seem like they're shooting it consistently. And
Hmm.
especially like Max Strus, who's only shooting 35%, uh, and their overpaid sharpshooter at 36%, Duncan Robinson.
Hmm.
I really thought that maybe this year Duncan Robinson could turn it around and at least shoot a little bit closer to probably like 38%, 39%, maybe even touch the 40s. But their leading shooter right now in 3-point percentage is Dwayne Dedman. But, I'm going to give it to Jimmy Butler because Dwayne Dedman's not, out there shooting
Yeah,
three. So,
I was about to say, please tell me you're joking,
no,
but
I'm not. I'm not.
I'm guessing it's like he shot one and made that one or something, or made one out of two.
Right. Well, I'm
Like,
guessing it's the same thing. But yes, Jimmy Butler, who has never been known for his 3-point shot, is leading the team at 43.8%.
and you know what? Actually, I can believe that because I want to say it was in that Warriors game. They were giving him that shot a lot, and he was making it.
Mm, yeah. So definitely, I think playmaking is the biggest issue here for this team. I don't think defense has been anything too much to worry about so far.
Hmm.
It's just the playmaking, and with that playmaking, I definitely believe that they'll be better efficiency wise when it comes to percentages and shooting and all that.
Hmm. And I have to agree with you about the whole defense not really being an issue thing because the Warriors game being the most prominent game of theirs that I've watched, I can say that defensively they're definitely there 100%.
Hmm.
Especially you can see the difference between when Bam is on and off the court. Because Bam went off the court, and that's when Steph and I want to say a couple other players really started abusing their lack of an inside presence.
Hmm.
And then the moment he came back in, you could feel a tide shift.
Yeah, I mean it's the Heat at the end of the day, so I don't really think we'll have to worry about that defense. Especially the culture of the whole team is defense, and you look at their point differential; it's only about 2.
Hmm.
So it could definitely be fixed by just adding a guy who could score or can play make for the team outside of Kyle Lowry, because Kyle Lowry, I definitely believe, is about months away from being considered washed.
Yeah. And while it would suck to trade him, I think that might have to be the move that they make because, in all honesty, I think Kyle Lowry would be better suited as a backup for them.
Hmm.
But obviously, it's the middle of the season, so you're not going to be able to just like maybe sign a guy or something.
Right, right, right. Let's go ahead and transition to another team. What was another team you wanted to talk about today?
Let's slide over to the Mavericks.
All right, so The Mavericks are sitting at 2-3 to start their season throughout 5 games. They're currently in the 12th spot in the West. Like I told you before the episode started, I haven't really been able to catch too many Mavericks games, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and take this one for the most part.
So with the Mavericks, I want to say that they're in such an odd spot. They're definitely not a highly successful team by record, as the both of us really predicted. We thought that they were going to be a fringe playoff team,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like they've been probably one of the most confusing teams to start this season, because on one hand, you have them playing amazing games that are really close, and it's right there, toss up over who could really win the game. And that's kind of evident in the fact that with them having a 2-3 record currently, their point differential is still 7.
Mm-hmm.
So having such a significantly positive point differential with a losing record is further evidence to just how confusing this team has been. But I want to say that the biggest surprise to me is how well that team can defend when they really need to. They are much better defensively than I thought that they would be.
Mm-hmm. So, looking at just stats, like I said, I have not been able to catch any Mavericks games this year. But looking at stats alone, and it looks criminal that Christian Wood is only getting 26 minutes per game, because he is the second leading scorer on the team, and he's shooting 58.8% from three. Why is he not starting? You're getting, JaVale McGee, I believe that's who's starting, correct? Is he still the starting center of that team?
Yes, he didn't start in their game last night, but every other game, yeah, he started.
You're getting JaVale McGee to play 12.8 minutes per game, when that could go, at least half of that can go to Christian Wood. Get him to about 30 minutes per game, 32 minutes per game. And why is Maxi Kleber getting 27.4 minutes per game over Christian Wood's 26.4?
Okay, now, here's how I want to address that. I do want to say that Maxi Kleber absolutely deserves his minutes. He really shows it out there on the defensive end, and he hits some shots on the offensive end too. So I think in terms of Maxi Kleber's minutes, they can stay where they are. And I think it's a matter of JaVale McGee honestly needs to be out of the rotation, and his minutes all need to go to Christian Wood. Because from what I have seen of this team, JaVale McGee has contributed almost nothing positive when he's on the court. He struggles to convert putbacks. I think there was one play where he got a lob and he caught it too late, so he ended up throwing it into the bottom of the rim. His defense honestly isn't that impressive. And then, like you said, he's only playing, 12 minutes a game? Why is he starting just to only play 12 total minutes in a game? So I think them deciding to start JaVale McGee was a terrible decision. He really doesn't even look like he needs to be in the rotation right now, because Christian Wood and Maxi Kleber both do a much better job contributing positively for the team. So I think the real problem here is his minutes need to go to Christian Wood.
And I'm going to ask you, because like I said, I've not been able to catch any of these games. How has Tim Hardaway Jr. played so far throughout his 4 games?
From the games that I did catch, he looked pretty good, especially in the Nets game. In the Nets game, he was really on it. But I'd say, he's not any worse than, he was before. He's still doing what he does, and that's making shots.
All right, so I think we can go ahead and transition to another team. Let's go ahead and talk about Portland a little bit, and a little bit of our Rockets, because they did play each other 2 nights ago. So let's go ahead and start off with the Rockets first.
Mm.
Uh, is this a legitimate question to? Is it legitimate to question Steven Silas at this point?
You know, I feel like we've been in this position before
Mm,
where the team was bad and we really had to start questioning Steven Silas. But I feel like this, while obviously some of the credit for our poor play does go to him, I want to note that a lot of this honestly goes to Jalen Green.
mm,
In the past few games, Jalen Green has been exceptionally bad for the level of play that he has expected us to see from him between his end of last season stretch to the beginning of this season. I don't know. He's hit some kind of cold slump, and it's really disappointing to see. And considering that he's supposed to be our best scorer, arguably best player on the team,
mm.
that's unacceptable.
So for me, the reason why I even question Silas is the rotations. The
Mm-hmm.
rotations have looked terrible. What has Josh Christopher done to, other than having a bad, summer league and preseason, to only average 7 minutes per game and at times not even get into the game at all?
Yeah, there's no justification for that one. And then also, like we talked about before, what has Dacian Nix done to deserve getting minutes over anybody? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, Dacian Dix does not deserve to be playing right now. I mean, I understand that he's been in the G League for about the last 2 years or year or so, but I mean, I think that's where he belongs right now. You definitely want to try to get Christopher, who you drafted last year overall with the first, I mean, not the first, a first round pick, and you're giving up on the guy who can shows potential to be a sixth man. It doesn't make sense to me because he has that spark plug ability to score. One really disappointing start. I understood that he probably wasn't going to carry this over from the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Was Tari Eason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He
that's another one.
he. I don't know if it's like he gets scared to finish or he just doesn't show the same aggressiveness that he showed in the preseason.
Yeah, and something else too that I noticed. I want to say it was our first Utah game.
Mm-hmm.
Was he was going for putbacks and they were just off, and it's like something about that nose that he had for doing the right things at the right time. It's like that magically disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what's up with him. I hope that, he can get out of whatever it is to at least somewhat look like how he looked in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's another big problem. And then also Jabari Smith has been pretty bad too.
Yeah, he's looked pretty rough. A lot of just how do I put this? I wouldn't call them bad IQ shots, but I would call them unwarranted. Like we don't need that type of shot at that moment.
Yeah, I think it's him trying to, or not even necessarily trying. I think it's him having the confidence, but his shot's not falling. And so, much like how Jalen Green would do last year, he's just forcing up the shot that we don't need because he thinks it's the one that'll get him going.
Mm.
And so, we're just seeing a repeat of last season basically with him. The only difference is Jalen Green would do 7 dribble moves into a step back and then shoot it, whereas Jabari, we're passing it to him on open shots and he's missing it.
Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and move to the Blazers real quick so we can go ahead and cover another team before we go ahead and wrap everything up.
All right.
Did I just say the Blazers or did I say the Pacers?
No, you said Blazers.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I said Blazers or Pacers. But yes, we're going to talk about the Blazers. Shaden Sharp is guy that this year could be most improved. I can't even win most improved because he only played like 5 games this year or something like that.
Uh, um,
Wait, let me see. Let me look up his.
you know what?
I don't remember him playing at
It,
all last year.
yeah, no, it looks like he's a rookie because it says that there are no stats for him last year.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, he
well
was the
then.
seventh pick in this draft.
Oh my! I thought he was drafted last year.
You know what? Maybe you're confusing him with Dayron Sharp. That's on the Nets.
Mm, no, I wasn't. I'll go ahead and take that one straight up. But
Oh, that's tough.
yeah, but yeah, I definitely thought he was drafted last year. What do you call it? I thought he just didn't play at all his rookie year.
I mean, in that case, he still wouldn't have won most improved.
Well, I mean, I thought he played like about 5 games. That's why.
But no, I mean, like, they don't usually give it to like second year players anyway, just because that's like the obvious year to make a jump.
Mm,
So unless you go from like bench player to all star, then yeah, they don't really do that.
mm. Well, I definitely think so far the rookie of the year belongs to Banchero, but
Oh,
could I think that's like the most easiest award to go decide right now.
yeah.
But from Sharp's performance so far this year, could you see him in the top five?
Top five. I think the potential's definitely there.
Mm,
Something that I've noticed is that like he more so depends on other people to get him shots. From what I've seen, maybe I haven't seen enough,
mm.
but I think that might be something that holds him back from really getting in there. But the potential's definitely there, especially the way he played against us. Yeah.
Well, you know who else played really good against us? You know who I'm gonna
I
say.
already know where this is going. Oh, go
My guy,
ahead.
Yusuf Nurkic. um,
Oh
he
man,
put up 27 and 15.
with 3 blocks at that.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has not like other than that first game, he definitely has not played up to the level that I kind of expected him to this year. But or I predicted him, quote
Hmm.
unquote, to play this year. But I still think that he's been, you know, other than scoring wise, what the Blazers have needed him to be.
Hmm.
Even from maybe not the last 2 games, but from a playmaking standpoint, he's seemed to make the right decisions.
Hmm.
He did have a lot of turnovers though in the Rockets game at 4, but he's still like that rebounding force
Hmm.
that
Oh
he's
yeah.
been.
Oh, for sure.
He's had double-digit rebounds all except one game versus the Heat, which he was one off. That he also only played 26 minutes in because they were getting blown out. But also Anthony Simons.
Oh man, Anthony Simons. He torched us. I'll go ahead and say it now. I was watching this game until Anthony Simons went on like a 3 or 4 straight like shot make.
Hmm.
It's like that crazy 3 point shot streak that he went on. After that, I just turned the game off. I couldn't bear it anymore.
It's crazy to think that Anthony Simons. This is already his like 5th year in the league.
Dang, it's his fifth.
Yes, he's
I
been
thought this
playing.
was his third year.
Nah, he's been playing since 2018.
Oh, what? Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was surprised too because I just looked up his stats and it has all the way back from the 18-19 season when he played 20 games. But yeah, it is crazy that this is already his 5th year in the league.
Dang.
I mean, he is 23, so he was drafted at 19.
Yeah. But something else that I want to say, because there's really nothing left to say about him. He's really showing some potential. That's about it. Or he's living up to it now.
Hmm.
But something that needs to be said about this team's success is that you really got to give the team credit for being as good as they are, even with Jeremy Grant being, I'll be straight and say, a clear disappointment. He was brought in to, like, for sure be that second star guy with Dame, and he honestly hasn't looked like that.
Mm-hmm. Um, I have to give my props to Dame because I did not expect him to come out and be as great as he was, or at least the 5 games that he has played out of the 6 that the Trailblazers have.
Mm-hmm.
He's averaging 31 points right now, and on really really good efficiency. So, I don't want to say MVP or anything like that. I don't know if that's in reach, but if the Trailblazers continue to be as good as they're playing right now, and he can maintain that 31 and get his assists up with that efficiency that he has, I can definitely see him like not in the top 5, but his name being thrown in there.
You know what? I can definitely agree because based off what we've seen so far, it's looking like Dame time has left the fourth quarter and become a full game experience.
Yeah, I mean he's like averaging his career high right now at 31. I mean he averaged 30 back in 1920,
Mm-hmm.
the 1920 season. But I mean to have the Trailblazers starting off at 5-1 is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive. It looks like a really bright spot for his career. Now, do we think the Trailblazers are actually going to win anything? That's
No,
another story.
no, no.
But I think if they can maintain this level of play and at least look like a promising team, I can say that's better considering what the team did last year with him having been injured for so long. So yeah, I think this will be a good, at least morale boosting season for him.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to go ahead and finish off with the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about those Nets.
Man, talk about disappointing. Well, not for us, not for Rockets,
Yeah,
because we got the
yeah.
pick. So y'all know y'all could keep being bad, but
And more importantly, this is better for the league. I think because of what the Nets represent, I think it's best that they're not a good team.
yeah, it's surprising, but how do I put this? It's surprising that they're bad, like this bad, but also you kind of felt like this team was not going to be that upper echelon team that the the Celtics are or the Bucks are.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I'm not going to talk about him today. I'm not. I'm not going to go in on this man right now.
He's suffered enough.
So I felt like
who
I've
am I
talked
kidding?
about
There's
him.
no such thing as enough, but we've talked about him enough.
I will say though that 6 points per game for a guy that's getting paid that much is pretty bad.
Yeah, and also like 4 fouls a game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, 4 fouls.
yeah, that is also a big problem. But man, KD and Kyrie are really they're pretty much like doing exactly what I expected of this team. I remember I was actually talking to somebody else after we recorded one day, and they were surprised that I had the Nets as the 6th seed. And I said, well, I mean, look at the team. It's going to be just KD and Kyrie scoring. Everybody else just kind of chipping in where they can get in. And the team's not that great defensively.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they have shown exactly that.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Cam Thomas hasn't been getting more minutes. I definitely think that because obviously Durant, Irving are going to be the main 2 scorers, that they really need a third scorer. I think Cam Thomas could be that, but he's only played 2 games, gotten 6 minutes per each.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of maybe is that it's a defensive thing. because when you look at this lineup, like I said, I expected them to be a bad defensive team. You have pretty much just Royce O'Neal and Ben Simmons, who are supposed to be your good defenders,
Mm-hmm.
even though not really living up to that so much. But then you have Seth Curry, who you're going to need to give minutes to.
Mm-hmm.
You have Joe Harris, who you're going to need to give minutes to. You have Patty Mills that you're going to need to give minutes to. None of those guys are good defenders. So at that point, why would you slide Cam Thomas in there to just add another defensive liability, I'm guessing?
Well, I mean, I would say other than Seth, I would think that he's probably the second best scorer out of those guys you named. I mean, yes, Joe Harris is supposed to be that sharpshooter, but he's not
But yeah, but
he can't create like Cam for
let's
himself.
let's not even pretend like they're comparable. Yeah, it's not close. It's only Patty Mills who's giving him a run for his money.
Yeah, I just don't really know. I mean, other than like you said, the defense is not good, and the lack of a third scorer or any other scorers outside of Kyrie and Durant is what's really hurting this team. Like Ben Simmons has been by far a top 3 disappointing player so far to start the year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's really it. I mean, was there any other teams that you really wanted to talk about before we go ahead and wrap things up?
I don't want to necessarily talk about a team, but I do want to just kind of address this team because of a specific player really quickly.
Okay.
So the Clippers, they're performing closer to my expectations than to yours.
Right.
And especially considering the game that just recently finished, Paul George is really Paul Georging it. And so it's honestly a little bit worse than I was expecting, because if you go back to our standings video, I said that I expected this team to be bad because I expected some load management out of Kawhi and PG.
Yeah.
But we're getting the load management for Kawhi, who's also like actually kind of injured. I think he said some knee stiffness. And Paul George has been playing still anyway, and they're still not winning very much.
Yeah, I definitely think the load management wasn't going to be as much as it is currently. That's why I had them pretty high. I think I had them like second or third or something like that.
Yeah, you had them second.
Yeah, and well, I look like a fool. So, I mean, I think everyone does at this point. If you're kind of like predicted the way the standings were going to go the same way we did.
Oh yeah, just like, trust me, even beyond the Clippers problems, we're definitely looking like fools, but the Clippers are just a funny case.
Yeah, like who thought the 76ers were going to start like 3 and 4 or
Oh man, who thought the Jazz were going to be one of the best teams in the West?
Exactly. Who thought the San Antonio Spurs were going to start 4 and 2? Like we said at the beginning of the episode, it's just unpredictable, and everything is going the exact opposite of what we thought was going to happen.
Exactly. This is the Wild West year of the NBA, but it's wild everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Don't forget the East too. I mean, the East is pretty crazy too. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap things up. If you liked the episode, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Isaiah, any last comments?
Don't forget, share the podcast with as many people as you can.
All right, we will catch you next week on the next episode.